Always train hard, never leave anything in the pool. I think for me, if I end my career knowing that I've given it 100%, and even if that doesn't ever get me to the Olympic Games or get me a gold medal, if I've given it 100%, I'll be happy with myself. So just give it 100%, have a little bit of fun along the way, make some great relationships, because they'll be the things that you'll remember.
Because I read somewhere that you're the smiliest person in the Australian diving team. Is that right?
I like to have a bit of fun. I think smiles are contagious. So if I'm smiling, hopefully other people will too.
My advice to them would be to have fun with it. So don't train as if you want to get better. Train as if you're already the best, because that brings that feeling that you are, and it makes you believe in yourself, and it makes the day count because you have fun with it. When you try to get better, which is good, you have to want to get better, but if you believe you're already there, you get that feeling, so you have nowhere to go. I mean, you're already where you want to be. So don't forget to have fun with what you choose to do, no matter what that is, whether it's boxing, whether it's another sport, whether it's that you want to be a doctor. Just love what you do today. Don't wait for something to feel a certain way.
Yeah, I've got a good story. So in 2013, I hurt my finger in a gym accident where I had to get surgery, and I was going to miss out on that year's World Championships, and I'd made that senior national team every year before that, or for a few years before that. So I was really disappointed that I was going to miss that competition. But I put in a medical certificate form, like an appeal, to hopefully get selected based on my previous results, but they didn't choose me. And so for the next year, I really felt that Diving Australia or the selectors didn't believe in me and my abilities, and kind of like was taking a back seat. And during that time, I so many times thought, oh, maybe, I peaked when I was young and this is it, and I'm not going to be able to get back after having a couple of months out of the pool. But that was the most crucial time when I gathered a really good support team around me who were just worried about my well-being, were worried about me getting better, recovering from my injury, and then being in the right mindset to keep training. And the fact that I had those people backing me, my family, and then some, my team in Victoria around me, that's what got me through to keep going. And then the next year I came back stronger anyway. So it was a big, thanks, but I'm back kind of thing to the national team. So yeah, it was pretty sweet when that happened.
So definitely make sure you're having fun and don't get too serious too soon. I think juniors is kind of where it all starts out, and you kind of realise your love for the sport when you're competing as a junior. So I definitely think it's important to capture that and hold on to that. And yeah, always come back when times are hard, or if the training just feels like it's too much and, and you just want to stop for a little bit. Always go back to why you started and remember that, and use that to sort of keep your focus and go on.
I think that it's really important to not care what anyone thinks in the sense of focus on yourself. And it might sound something simple, but we all care a lot what people around us think. But I think that it's really important to not worry what everyone else is going to think. And if this is what's right for you, you know that, and you keep doing that. I think it's really important to stay curious and ask questions. For me, I've been exposed to some really good people that have helped me, but also some people that are simply there because they think it's their job, and I don't agree, like some nutrition coaches, for example, and some strength and conditioning people that may or may not have given you the best advice. And I think it's important to always question. If you're not sure on something, ask why. It's okay to ask why. And if somebody doesn't like that, then maybe they're not the best person for you to be listening to, because I think that you should always be allowed to ask why. And thirdly, I'd say to always just keeping on. Yeah. It sounds a bit silly, but in cycling, like it can always be worse. If you have a down moment, it can always be worse. So two years ago when I broke my arm and ripped up my face and I was in hospital, I was actually in hospital with another Australian. We were in Holland, and she'd crashed in the same race, but not in the same crash, actually.
I was about to say, not into you, I hope.
Not in the same crash, but we managed to get put next to each other in the hospital, which was nice. But she'd broken like 5 bones, including her jaw and collarbone and shoulder blade, and her face was also. We both needed a plastic surgeon, and it was not good. However, we both raced at the World Championships together last year.
That would have been a great moment for you both.
Yeah, so I mean, it can always be worse in whatever situation you're in. It can always be worse, and I think that that's a really good mentality, and that's what I've always had. So even the situation now, yeah, I can't ride I can't race, but I can ride outside. Some of my teammates couldn't ride outside for 7 weeks.
Wow.
So, I mean, it can always be worse.
Definitely, and of course that applies to everything outside of cycling,
Exactly.
as well.
Exactly. So I think that's your mindset is really powerful and important, and I think it's probably more important in the bad times than it is in the good times.
Yeah.
It's easy in the good times to keep going and to keep pushing because everything's going well and going good, and you're getting lots of maybe recognition or reward for it. But when you're struggling or it's not going well or there's no one to support you, that's when it's important to recognize it can always be worse.
I think it would be take one step at a time. One thing that I've learned recently is if someone that's very advanced at something is trying to teach someone that's a beginner, you need to put it all in perspective. Everyone starts as a beginner, and taking those small steps is really important. Just like setting goals, you're not going to reach your long-term goals straight away. So you can tick your little boxes along the way, and you will get there. It's when I do my motivational or public speaking it's usually to primary school kids, and they're so fascinated, and when you tell them this, they really believe it. They believe they can achieve something. But I think as you get older, like I imagine trying to teach someone that's a bit older to swim and say that they can get to this level, they'd think, no, I'm past that point. But anyone can swim, and anyone can do a great job with it. But I think we need to sometimes take that enthusiasm and excitement and belief that kids have, because they're the best at doing that. So
yeah, obviously dream big, be limitless is a really big one. I'm a really big believer in having your A team around you. So create a support team around you. So your friends, your family, coaches, whoever it might be, have that support team around you, because being an athlete, as I said, there are so many lows. So you need that support team there for you when you get knocked down. And I think with every journey, it's so nice when you achieve something to have that support team there to celebrate with you.
Yeah.
And that's something that I've really loved and I've had for pretty much my whole sporting career. And I know that I wouldn't be able to do it without my A team. So build an A team. And the third one is, and I touched on this a little bit in our 10 before 10 chat, but I think just don't be afraid to fail. I think too often there's such a negative stigma around failing, but I do believe that we need to fail before we can succeed. Not all the time, but there will often be moments in our life when something just really doesn't go well, and then that's when we grow. That's when we have the most growth. I mean, as a junior athlete, I wasn't always on the top of the podium. If anything, I possibly was last sometimes. So, and that, yeah, of course, that really hurt, coming last up like a few times, but eventually it taught me different skills that perhaps the winners weren't learning. And I think that is what's really important. And that's what has, I guess, brought me through my whole career. So yeah, don't be afraid to fail.
Yeah.
I think for starters, enjoy it. Like, especially when you're young, it's really about making friends, having fun, throwing yourself into as many different sports as possible, and just recognizing that it doesn't matter who comes out on top. It's really about who's enjoying themselves and making the most of all the opportunities that come along through while you're at school and out of school as well.
Yeah.
And beyond the enjoyment factor, I think if you are starting to feel as though you want to pursue it at a more elite level, starting to explore your purpose and your drive, perhaps in a journal or just in your own mind, starting to write down what it is that drives you to continue on in this sport, because there will be days where you face adversity or challenges or an injury comes along, and being able to refer back to that purpose is really helpful in enduring through the trickier times, because they will come along. They're all a part of it. And I think welcoming and embracing challenges, whether they be injury or, you know, missing out on a team or anything like that, embracing them as part of the process and just trying to grow from them and learn something each time means you're winning anyway.
Yeah.
And the third piece of advice would be to not be afraid to create a support network. I've definitely fallen for the, you know, I've got to do it all on my own thing, both with study and with sport, because I thought that that was the only way to have it feel rewarding if I did it all on my own. But sport has taught me that when you bring people in and lean on them, and you focus on what you can do and your strengths, but then also reflect on your weaknesses and then draw people in who can counteract those weaknesses, and they bring on board their unique knowledge, then you can create a really strong team that elevates your performance overall. So just to summarize, it's the make sure you're enjoying what you're doing, and that's all that matters initially. Then what's driving you, write down your why factor and keep revisiting it, embrace challenges and create the support network, and then I think you sort it.
I think that's something that I've learnt with my sports psych over the last 6 years. I used to be terrible at that. If I had a bad game, that was it. Like, I'd be holding on to that. I'd be holding on to things that happened 5 years ago just because I didn't have the the skills to kind of let it go. You know, I'm very much a perfectionist in that sense. So now it's kind of just like focusing on, even going into a game, rather than focusing on, oh, look, I'm a shooter, I've got to shoot well tonight, or, you know, this isn't this. It's kind of like, okay, well, what can I control? And I had to, you know, it was my first season being in a captain role. I was like, well, my focus changed to going to, how can I get my team ready? How can I get the best out of my team? What can I do to help the team? So my focus completely changed, which meant at the end of the game, I could focus on things that I could control. So my energy, my talk. And so that took a lot of pressure off trying to perform, and it kind of came more naturally, which in the end, it was up to, you know, my efforts rather than the outcome if I scored or not, if that makes sense. My outlook on the game, looking back at it.
Yeah. To keep it simple, because, you know, when they start, they know the basics. Stick to the basics and to be patient. Keep going and going and going. And then eventually time flies, and when you eventually get the results, you know, I've been shooting for 10 years almost, and I've only just, like, you know, made an Olympic team and have started consistently going places where, you know, you think you take 10 years, that's a long time.
Don't be scared. I guess fear, you know, fear is always going to be a big thing in everyone's life. Fear can hold you back, and you can miss so many opportunities just from fear. And I've learned that through life. And I guess a big one would be give it a go. Just have no fear. You know what? And I guess fear can turn into fail. It's okay. You know, I'm an athlete that when I started, I thought I had to do everything right. I thought I had to be perfect. I thought I had to, in basketball, if I had to go get a pick, I had to get that pick. And if I missed that pick, that was it. It was over. I was off the team. I'm done. That's not it. You know, failing is what creates, you know, winning and greatness, and having no fear, believing in yourself, backing yourself. Anyone in this world can do absolutely anything. And there's so many people out there that can show you. So I think for me, it's here, just that self-belief. Don't worry about failure. It happens to everyone. I'm in 10th year of my career, and I'm missing picks, I'm missing shots, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, but out of failure is going to come greatness. So yeah.
Fantastic.
First of all, just make sure you really have fun. That's the main thing. And the other thing is just be patient, because, yeah, results take a lot of time and it takes a lot of effort. In my particular sport, it takes a lot of technical focus and fitness, which comes over many years. And, yeah, just use any challenges to grow, and don't sulk about any challenges. Just see an opportunity in it. Psych always says, thrive over survive.
Make sure you're enjoying what you do and enjoy it in a way that you're doing it for you as well as other people, but make sure you're definitely doing it for you is one of the biggest things. Dream big, you will get there. The only way you lose is if you give up. So that's a big one for me.
Go for it. You've got one life. You know, unfortunately, I left long drive pretty late in my career. As I said, I'm 36 now, and I'm up against guys that are sort of in their early 20s, and it does take its toll the older you get, believe it or not, Al. And I think the main thing that I would tell, for example, a 21-year-old Dan Crook is have a routine. Get up in the morning, do your training, go to work, get home, eat nutritious, good, wholesome, whole food meals. Don't eat processed food, and stay away from refined carbohydrates. Sugar is a killer.